We seem to be living through the disappearance of the filibuster in the U.S. Senate. Is that an expression of increasing democracy?
What's going on in the Senate, especially with the confirmation hearings, is deeply disturbing. The founders put these institutional breaks into the system precisely to avoid what they considered to be the danger of majoritarian tyranny. And the Times lead editorial this morning about the politicization of the Supreme Court, I think, is deeply, deeply troubling, because the idea was that if you divided power enough, not that nothing could happen, but that the people who would emerge through all of these different systems of diffusion of power would be the people who saw more broadly the general interest of the public. And the pinnacle of that was supposed to be the Supreme Court. And now we see Supreme Court justices being considered as partisan, every bit as partisan as anybody else in the government. That was never anybody's idea at the outset. It's very hard for me to see how that's the original meaning of the Constitution for anybody who knows anything about 18th century political theory. So that's a deeply unsettling development. Again, this is where, as a person on the left, I find myself in an awkward situation, because in principle, these counter-majoritarian breaks on authority look non-democratic. And when they're being exercised by our enemies, we think, that's an outrage. How can they do that? But when we do it, then it's a little bit different. So I think that there's trouble here in that it's almost impossible now to find the common ground. And those of us who are of a certain age remember when even Dwight Eisenhower, well, I can't pretend that I remember this when I was 3 years old, but in 1954, when Dwight Eisenhower gave his message to Congress about taxation, he declared paying your taxes to be one of the most important responsibilities that a citizen has. You should tell that to Paul Ryan, right? Who thinks evading taxes is now the American dream. The Republican Party in the 50s, through most of the 60s, accepted the New Deal, accepted that social compact that we were all in it together. What has happened since then is that this ideology of every man for himself, is an ideology that I consider inimical to American democracy. And that's the reason when asked who I would compare our current president to, I said Andrew Jackson. And I was astonished to find that he's now taken this on as something he's proud of, that he wants to be the Indian fighter, he wants to be the person who removed Indians, he wants to be the slave owner, he wants to be the tough guy. Okay, that's fine, but that's not the America that I think the 18th century framers of the Constitution had in mind.